Good evening. Welcome to the Wareham School Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, January 6th, 2022. This is really exciting because this is the most people we've had at a school committee meeting in a really long time. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast by WCTV, and an audio recording is also being made by Jamie Wixton. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item on our agenda is public participation. Is there anyone here who would like to address the committee? Please come forward.
This is very tight. I'm sorry, this is a very tight mask, so tell me if I need to drop it a little.
Okay.
Am I audible?
No, I can hear you. Okay. Just tell us who you are.
I will.
Okay.
My name is Annie Hayes. I live on Farmers Lane, and I want to comment that it is very meaningful to me to be with a group of citizens and pledge allegiance to the flag today. I'm in the Deacon School neighborhood, and I came with my young son to play ball from another town when he was very small, and loved the layout, the green space, the open space. So when I, at a planning board, heard that there's a SERPID plan, and I think in conjunction with the WRA, to demolish DECUS and have a flex campus for technology. And alongside that, the proposal to extend the business district down past Main Street towards the river and past the, I'm forgetting the name of that company, but to really extend the business district down that space. I was alarmed and started looking into it, and then it's hard to remember, consecutive time in this age, but I think it wasn't long after that I was at an election, and I was looking at the DECUS school, and I ran into Mr. Moniz, and it was sort of like we had kind of independently thought of the same thing. Why is this school being destroyed, and what else could it be used for? So I've been part of that, what we have called ourselves loosely a steering committee, a group of citizens who came together to look at the school. I went on 4 tours. Every time I got more excited because the people who came were excited. So many people had never really been in it, had not seen the inner garden, the condition. There are rumors of a lot of asbestos. The building was needing to be destroyed. And that was so contrary to what people's experience was. So it was very exciting. And gradually over this last year, this vision was created, puffed up. Seniors came. Every time somebody came, there was a dream that popped out of their mouth because of the extent of the facilities. So then there was the mandate, the unanimous vote at Town Hall for the article to be able to have funding to explore all the ins and outs of the physical plant and what, really the dynamic was for any change, what extent there might need to be more funding, because we're all very conscious of that. So when, I think it was December 16th, the paper came out, and you superintendent laid out a new idea that I don't know that it was unequivocal, but it sounded pretty firmly set. And in the article, you, Mr. Sweat, posited the possibility of 200 students. The dream that we had expanded about all the different community services with the COA at the core of meeting previously unmet needs for safety and kitchen and drama and all these things that seniors had really wanted for so long. It was, what's the reaction? It was like, whoa. So I'm not representing the group, I am representing myself, but I certainly know people well as individuals. We worked together for a long time, and I think I can speak. You can hear me as representative of certainly a good many of the reactions. And so I'm here to hear your discussion, but I'm also here, I don't know if pushback's the word or just elucidation of our perspective. We already know of some seniors that are thinking, this is how it goes, our dreams they rise to the top and then they float back down to the bottom. And I think that's a tragedy. So I'm not saying that I'm not for pre-K, that I'm not for a great education for kids. I am, because I'm an educator. But, and maybe these two ideas can dovetail. But I was looking at the CMRs for pre-K for the state regs, and there are just so many regulations about how much space each child has to have, and we know there are going to be locked doors, and it's just already as if the building in my mind has been truncated in half. So I want you to know that that's a reaction that this hardworking committee that has just finalized its membership, hasn't had one meeting yet, and was not in any way that I know of, anything but blindsided by this. So.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. During public comment, we usually don't have a discussion back and forth, but what I will say is that it is, I believe, everyone is working towards the same thing to make sure that that building is used in the best way for everyone in Wareham. And I guess we just don't know what that is yet.
I'm not condemning you for your intent. I think maybe some of it was communication, and a lot of times it's well-meaning people who are just, miss each other somewhere along the line. So,
But what I will say also is that I heard you say something about our discussion. So we do have that item on our agenda tonight, but we just don't have enough information tonight to have that discussion.
Okay.
So we will not be having that tonight.
I won't wait till 8:50.
So I wanted to make sure I told you that before you waited.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead. Did you want to?
I didn't know we deleted that from the agenda, so that's one piece. I didn't know we deleted that from the agenda, so I'm sorry you came here with hopes that you could listen to the discussion.
I'll be back for the discussion.
Having said that, I applaud you for being here anyway, because I think there's not enough citizen participation in government, and your presence is a tribute to yourself and to the people that you represent. This discussion will be multifaceted when it happens. It's actually a fairly complex situation, and I hope you'll be back.
I understand. I know how to read between the lines about finances and all the different things. So, but thank you for saying that.
Thank you for coming tonight. Sure, come on up. I'm sorry, before we go any further, I neglected to say that there are 4 school committee members here tonight, and 1 is joining us by phone. April is not able to be here in person, but she is on the phone. Right, April?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm having a hard time hearing anyone other than you. I don't know if it's a combination of the mask and how far the phone or background noise is from the public participant. So I do want to thank them for coming. The feed I'm trying to watch live as well, and it's a little bit delayed, so it's a little bit hard to keep up. It's about a 2-minute delay, so I'm a little behind watching, but I am here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
thank you. My name is Brenda Ekstrom. My children all attended Wareham schools in various stages. Now they're all in college or beyond.
Well, thanks, Brenda, for coming tonight.
I am actually coming for the same reason. And I understand you won't be having the discussion now, but I would like to give you some questions, and I know you can't answer them now, but some questions that the committee is interested in. Unfortunately, there were going to be several people here, but due to COVID quarantines and close contacts and all of that, I'm the only one. But the questions are, in your question and answer on your website for the new school, one of the things said was that the grade configuration of the new school, why not include 5th grade? The answer was because you're having grades K through 4 plus 5 pre-K classrooms that would accommodate another 80 pre-K students. Mr. Sweat, in the article, it was attributed to him saying over 200 pre-K children could be accommodated at Deacon's. I would like to know if you've thought about the private preschools in town. What will you be doing to them? I think that's a serious issue. I mean, I know that with schools, you always complained, or I shouldn't say you, I'm a pro-public schools, so we always complain that charter schools are taking our money. Well, won't this be the reverse? So I'd like you to consider that. Also, we couldn't use a standard design cost or a standard design from the MSBA because it was going to be so big to include the pre-K. But now it seems like we're going to be putting them somewhere else. So did we not build this school, this $90 million school, did we not build it big enough that we have to go back to a school that that you people had concerns that it wasn't safe enough or that it needed to be code upgraded? And I don't know how you can put pre-K in there if it wasn't good enough for kindergarten, first and second. I'm sorry. Okay. Also, if with this preschool, will there be eligibility guidelines? For the proposed families that are going to be served, will they be prioritized? Will you have a sliding fee schedule? Because if you have that, one of the reasons why it was said that you were going to have the pre-K was to help with your budget. And if you have this, it's not going to give you any revenues to go into your budget. Okay, and will you have slots available to non-Wareham residents? Will you be opening it up to other towns? And we'd like to know what the proposed budget is for the preschool. And let's see what else. Oh, yeah. And the Deacon's school is now unoccupied because those 5 classes went over to the new Wareham Elementary. I keep wanting to say mine. So it's unoccupied now. Are you planning on doing this for the spring or summer or starting with the next fall, if you've made any decisions on that? Yeah, I guess that's probably about it. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, no. The other questions are, I know that on the agenda tonight you have furniture and the disposition of it, and I would kindly request that before you throw it away, give it away, that you consider leaving it for the DECA steering committee so that if we do things over there, there is stuff there that they could utilize. I think that was it. Okay?
Sure. So I just want to say thank you, and those are all very good questions, and all things that are being considered. And as I said, we just don't have enough information.
Correct.
To talk about that tonight. But one thing I do want to make crystal clear as far as one of the questions that you brought up about the preschool. The existing preschool students have moved to Wareham Elementary, and they will stay there. This would, if it were to come, would be an additional preschool program. So I don't want anyone to listen and get the wrong idea. So all of the existing preschool students, they're at that elementary.
Is unoccupied now. There is just...
All of the students have moved to Wareham Elementary,
Okay.
yes, and they will stay there.
All right.
Yes. So I didn't want anyone to listen and get the wrong idea.
Okay, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
but thank you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here, Brenda.
Next on the agenda is good news. Does anyone have any good news they'd like to share? Jeff?
Well, I will leave it to the superintendent to give a full report on the new elementary school, but I had the privilege and fun of being there for the first day in the morning, and it was a great experience to see almost 1,000 kids even though it occupied Minot Avenue more than we would have liked. But putting that aside, every shape, size, color you can imagine, child showed up and looked eager to be there. And I especially want to thank the voters of Wareham, as I have done before, because if they hadn't said yes resoundingly, 3 years ago, something like that, it would never have happened. And we look forward to the ribbon cutting where people can get in there and see what has been accomplished, because the parents and students and staff of that new elementary school either are or will be thrilled when they get the opportunity to be in there. So it's great news.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else? April, do you have any good news you want to share?
No, nothing that I can think of. Just hope that, everybody who has been, I know that the teachers have been creative with a lot of the administrators with some coverages for so many people after the holidays becoming, COVID positive. And I just want to continue to thank all the staff and the custodial staff and everyone who's done everything that they can to try to keep everybody is healthy and get them back as quickly as possible, and hope anyone who is sick gets quickly healed and it isn't as serious as it could potentially be. So that's all.
All right, thanks, April.
Madam Chairman, you gotta put her phone or your phone next to a mic.
Okay, sorry.
You can use April's mic if you like.
Okay. Just the only good news I wanted to share is that after taking a break of a few years, I've signed up to be a judge at the DECA competition again, although I did just hear that it got moved to virtual. So I'm not sure how that'll work with judging, but I guess I'll find out. Next on the agenda is the report of our student representative, Adrian. Hi, Adrian.
Thank you. Hello. I want to apologize in advance for how muffled I sound today. I wanted to start off by talking about something that I've been working on over the past couple months with the National Honor Society at the high school. So I have been working with this organization called Treeplenish that teams up with high school student leaders to plant trees in their community to give back to the environment, but also their goal is to plant the trees to make up for all of the school's paper usage over the last school year. So our goal this year is to plant 125 trees in the community. Just yesterday, we were able to begin our marketing phase, so we can start putting up flyers and selling trees to anyone in the community who's interested. So you guys should be seeing flyers and posts soon for that. On April 2nd is when we will be having National Honor Society students actually going out and planting trees in people's yards, but people are also invited to come to the school and pick up saplings that they order. Student Council recently discussed a possible pep rally for the spring because we weren't able to hold it in the fall like usual, and a staff versus student game as well, and a possible trivia night, which would be very interesting. Just today, the drama club, the Viking Theater Company, hosted auditions for their musical Into the Woods, which will be held in, I believe it'll be in like 2 or 3 months, the show. And then everyone today was very excited for the snow day. Everyone was predicting that either there would be a delay or a cancellation, and I heard just today that there is no school tomorrow, I believe.
Correct.
And then, so students in my grade also decided on a prom theme, which is Roaring 20s. We decided to change it from Great Gatsby to Roaring 20s, just to like lessen up the confusion, because there was a little confusion of what Great Gatsby kind of means. And then also Student Council and Key Club will be running a prom dress drive, where they will be collecting donated dresses for a prom closet to be available for anyone attending, free of charge. And that's it.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Adrian?
What kind of trees can we get?
So there is a red maple, flowering dogwood, and northern red oak, and each sapling is $5.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Adrian. Next on our agenda is recognition of Joan Siemens. Joan, could you come forward? Thanks for being here.
Thank
We thought it was really important that we recognize you as you transition to your new position. I know this has been an exciting week for you too. Seeing the culmination of all the hard work. I just want to go back a little ways because, when this project started, it was started as a replacement for Minot Forest School, and so you were really the driving force behind that from the beginning. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So we just wanted to acknowledge you for your efforts, say thank you, congratulate you, give everyone an opportunity, and I know Dr. Shaverhood has something to say.
So Joan began her career in 2002 in Wareham as the principal of the Ethel Hammond Elementary School. In 2005, she was named principal of East Hammond and Minot. During her tenure, she served on numerous committees, participated in countless school activities, has made many friends, and is known as our NASCAR principal. We're very appreciative of the time that Joan has given us. Her eye for detail, her positive attitude, her dependability, her communication and organizational skills are superior, and I know that we've all sent her documents to be fixed. So I appreciate everything that Joan's brought to the district as a principal, and I look forward to working with her in central office. So thank you, Joan. We would not be in the new building as wonderful as it is without your help. So thank you so much. And we have a gift for you.
It's just a small little thing.
Thank you.
A memento of the old building.
I'm having my house resided, so maybe I can incorporate that somewhere.
Is that
Thank you
Mary?
very
Go
much.
ahead.
So I just want to say that I had the pleasure of working with Joan Siemens under her, and I want to say you were one of the best principals that I've ever worked with.
Thank
And I
you.
appreciate the time that I worked with you.
And I've worked with you in several different roles, from special ed teacher to early childhood coordinator, reading interventionist. There's been a lot of different things over the years.
Yeah, those were the good days.
Well, lucky for us, you're not going anywhere. You're
That's true.
still here with us. So,
All right, well, thank you.
all right.
All right.
Thank you, Joan. Next on the agenda is obsolete furniture.
Yes, thank you. We have obsolete furniture from Minot Forest, 24 classrooms in very poor condition. We have desk 157, chairs 68, 19 bookshelves, 12 filing cabinets, and 6 easels. I would ask the committee to please deem them as obsolete.
Are there any questions? If not, I'll accept a motion.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor, we're going to do roll call votes because April is on the phone. Kevin?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mary?
No.
April?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So 4-1-0. Next on the agenda is a discussion about therapy dogs. If someone wouldn't mind just asking them to step in from the hallway. Hello. Oh, I didn't know you were bringing guests. I see that.
So I have with me tonight, well, I'm Kyle Baptiste, I'm the school resource officer. I have Jeff Worrell,
Hi, Jeff.
resident of Wareham. He's also on the board of, Board for Needs. And that's Ken Wright, he's the school resource officer. He's a juvenile detective in Mansfield.
Hi, everybody.
And,
Hello.
and that's Bentley. And it's ironic, but Jeff, when his wife passed, the family sponsored a dog through needs, and it happened to be Bentley. So he named, when you sponsor a dog, you name it, and it goes through the process. Just so happened that Ken got Bentley. That's how Jeff and his connection, and it was in Mansfield, which is good, nice and close for Jeff to visit. So,
So tell us how this came to be in Wareham, how,
it's something that I've seen with all the other school resource officers. And I've talked to Jeff about it before. I talked to Andrew about it years ago. So then, when the new chief came in, he was a lieutenant, we knew he was gonna be the new chief. I talked to him about it, he was supportive. We met, myself, Ken, and Jeff met at Jeff's house, and it was a go, and we started the process.
okay. Ken, can you tell us some of the things?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. This is a program it's gonna be the best thing that you guys ever did as a public school, I'm gonna tell you that right now. This was a vision that I had too, when I started taking over as SRO. The thought process I had is the importance of an SRO really in the schools is to build relationships with kids, school-age kids, right? It translates into your community when the police department sees kids on a different level. So myself, I was going into the schools after my daughters graduated because they didn't want me there when they were there, which I understood. So as they phased out of the schools, I had the opportunity to go in. And, you know, being a 50-year-old guy, I said, how am I going to connect with all these high school kids? I have daughters, but how am I going to connect? And in Mansfield, we have the Xfinity Center, which is a concert venue. So I work over there for the last 20-something years. And as people are filing in, they would go past us and they'd be cordial and they'd say hello. But we always have bomb dogs there, which are the state police that have Labrador retrievers. And people would stop and say, hey, can I pet your dog? The officer would say, sure. And so as they were petting the dog, I'd watch and they'd have a conversation with the officer. I said, geez, that'd be a great idea if I could find a way to bring a dog into the school. So I started researching the options, and luckily enough, I stumbled upon Needs, which is in Princeton, Massachusetts, and they're a service dog provider. They've been around for 45 years, and they provide about 50 service dogs a year to people with physical disabilities, people with kids with autism, and veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. And then they have an offshoot of their program where they take some of the service dogs and provide them to schools, hospitals, victim witness advocates, and such. They're in schools all over the country. They're in numerous schools in Massachusetts. So I applied for a dog. I was lucky enough to get Bentley, and we've been partnering together for 3 years. And the benefits that I've seen have been much more than I ever thought. You know, beyond that breaking the ice with kids, he works so well with the special ed teachers. We have a campus-style setting in Mansfield, so my office is in the high school, but I can get in every school during the day, and constantly getting called over to the elementary schools for kids that are dysregulated. He'll come over. He's just so calm. As you can see, he comes in, he sits down. He'll go in, he'll engage the child. And it's been amazing to me. It's been a learning experience, and you'll see the kid get back on track. And it's not a reward. We leave, and then for the rest of the day, it seems like the kid is fine, and the student. So we've had that, bringing different groups in the school together, kids that would never interact. When they see Bentley all come up, start patting him, they start talking. For teachers even, you know, during these trying times, you walk down the hall and people will come up and they're like, oh, can I say hello? And they're like, oh, thank you, that just made my day. So those things have really benefited. We've branched off, we've done different things. I brought this today. So this is a Bentley plush that our department purchased a couple hundred of them, and I work with the counselors in the elementary schools. We started what's called the Bentley Award. And the premise behind that is we promote to all the kids in the elementary school that Bentley's a service dog, so his whole life has been dedicated to helping others and serving others. So when kids do an act that is seen, you know, a friendly act, they do something for another child and they're not expecting anything back, they're acting in a kind manner, they can get nominated. And then at the end of the week, we pick 2 to 3 students out, and we go to their classroom and we present them with their own plush Bentley Award. So, and then in the elementary schools, they have a bulletin board that says Bentley Award, and for the month, they take a picture with them and they put it up on the board, and they send something home to the parents to say they got the Bentley Award. So things like that is really have grown in, you know, in our community. He's been incredible, and we've done fundraising to help needs. We've high school projects we've done. This is our 3rd year. We did a Bentley calendar where the kids in the photography class took pictures. One of the art teachers helped me. We put it into a calendar. We sold them throughout the schools for $20 a piece. The teachers all bought them. And we raised enough money to sponsor 2 dogs already, 4 needs. And this year I just gave them a check for $5,000. We're going to sponsor a dog run at their new breeding center in honor of a veteran in our town. So it's student projects showing the students how to be community service and give back to the community also, which is good.
Sounds really exciting.
Yeah, and it's, you know, probably some of the common questions that come up are kids with allergies. We haven't had to deal, like, what we do is if kids have real severe allergies, they let the nurse's office know. We won't go into the classroom, but even then we can visit that classroom outside a lot. What I learned through getting Bentley is that most people who are allergic to saliva, not dander as much. So it hasn't been an issue whatsoever. People say, what if kids are afraid of dogs? It's been the total opposite. He works as an ambassador to get people who are afraid of dogs to not be afraid of dogs. When I told the teacher right next to my office in the high school, when I told her I was getting Bentley, the look of horror that came on her face was unbelievable. And I said, do you not like dogs? And she said, I'm deathly afraid of dogs. And I said, oh, I can ask him to move my office. And she said, no, you explained what it is. Let's see how it goes. To now, when I go in, she's like, can Bentley come into the room? Can you take him off his leash? And she pats him, and so it's helped her get over a fear. And there's been a couple of teachers also and students that he's helped get over the fear of dogs. So really, knock on wood, there's not been one negative, just all kinds of positives.
Wow, that's great. Thank you. So what's your vision for this in Wareham?
My vision is exactly how Ken is running his program. I've been up to the school, I visited when the kids were in session, and I see and as he said, he's older. I know a lot of the kids been a long time, but some of the demographics that he connects with through Bentley that might not have had stopped and talked to him before or even bothered with him because of the dog, the dog breaks down those barriers. So I want to do it the same way he does it, and the same way in the community also, and that's what the chief's vision is, also in the community.
Okay. And so what is the timeline for something like this?
Well, Mr. Wells might have a better answer.
So basically, the way the dog is brought up, and it's a little bit different than many other departments. Many other schools and departments basically get a puppy and they kind of nurture it with one person and then bring it in. In the needs program, it's a little bit different because the breeding is all done based on the characteristics and the traits that they want. And about 50% of the dogs do not pass the program. It's about 1.5 to 2 years. So what will happen is that the dog is actually, Carl's potential puppy is actually in training right now. And then when they find a match, they would match that dog with a client. And then what they would do is they would assign the dog to the person. Then they come in for about 2 weeks, Ken?
It's a week that you have to go there. And so basically the dogs are all trained when you get the dog. And like Jeff said, there's different models out there. I'm prejudiced. There are models out there now where they're giving dogs to police departments and things at a younger age as puppies and then training with them. Needs is a proven commodity. They've been around for 45 years. When they say a dog is, they certify the dog and you have to get certified with the dog. So when that dog becomes certified, like Jeff said, only 50% make it. So you have faith that that dog has been through everything. And they're 1.5 to 2 years old by the time they place them. So they've vetted out every dog and every issue. So you know that you're getting top-notch, quality trained dog. So.
Part of me wants to ask what happens to the dogs that don't pass, but that's another.
So
I'll ask you another time.
Well, no, that's a great point. So what happens is the dogs that don't pass get adopted. So they have a program, and there's actually a huge waiting list because the dogs that don't make it are probably, they would probably score like 95% on an obedience scale. Bentley has to know about 60 plus or minus commands, and he has to know them like right away. Otherwise, they won't accept the dog. And there's some dogs that are better suited for people with physical challenges or PTSD or autism and stuff like that. So in other words, Bentley may not have been perfect for for somebody with physical needs, but he is ideal for the classroom or the school environment.
Because they're trained as service dogs. They're not trained as you hear comfort dogs or therapy dogs. He is a fully trained service dog. He can turn lights on and off. If I drop something, he'll immediately snap up, pick it up, and bring it back to me like I was a disabled person. So that's the way the dogs are trained. The dogs that wash out, they could, I've heard stories that, a dog was afraid of an elevator. It was afraid of a balloon. So it can't be certified as a service dog, so the dog gets washed out. but the dogs get adopted out, but it's not easy. Like, I've had friends, and I've referenced people to there, and they finally called me and they said, Ken, stop telling people, because it's like hitting the lottery. Everyone wants these dogs. They're still great dogs, so it's, they get a good home.
Okay. Does anyone?
What happens in a situation if you're in the building with the dog and say a fight happens in the hallway? What's the dog do then if you had to get involved in something like that?
I could secure the dog and put him somewhere, and then we would have to, respond. You can just put him in a room, shut the door. If I put him in, shut the door, he's just gonna stay there. Yeah, you don't wanna bring the dog into a volatile situation. You have to be able to read the room, and Carl's done it long enough, and I do it. Like, I know, like, some kids get really dysregulated, and I can still bring them in there because I've worked with them and I know how they're gonna react to him. They might be violent towards a person, but they're not violent towards him for some reason. So yeah, you'd have to just secure your dog and then go take care of what you had to take care of.
There was when I was in Mansfield, Bentley ran back himself. He went back to his office.
Yeah, he knows where his office is.
On his own. Just let him go, and he went, and it was pretty good.
And there's enough staff members, like, he didn't know him, so if I had to do something, I could be like, hey, take him for a minute, and he could go in with them and go in their room. Because I walk around, it's funny, I walk around the halls and everyone goes, Bentley, Bentley, and it's like, everyone knows who you are, but it's like, especially younger kids even, like, once I went out and I dress like this normally, like, I don't wear a full uniform in school either, and I was in full uniform on a detail at, like, a fair or something, and I had Bentley, and one of the little elementary school kids walks up and says, he comes to our school every day. And I said, yeah, I know, I'm the guy at the end of the leash. But, it's been a great success, and makes my job so much easier. I mean, it's really cool. Go down to the gym when the kids are in gym and throw them the ball, and all the kids are playing with them. And he has his own Facebook page, his own Instagram page. The kids take pictures with him, and we post them. And he goes to prom. He's been all the major events he goes to. So it's really cool.
I have to admit, I have seen him. I have followed his Facebook page.
Okay.
So he's quite a celebrity. Mary, go ahead.
So does he live with you?
He does, yeah. He's my dog, and he's just a regular dog at home.
Good.
So he comes home at night. He just stays with me and my family, and so, yeah.
That's good. Because I think the canine dogs, many of them don't, is that right?
Yeah, it's a totally different, we have a canine too, and it's two different jobs they're doing.
Yeah.
So he's like a family dog, and he's a personable, he actually seeks, he wants to be around people, because they've been around people their whole life. And it's kind of like a neat thing, because they were actually raised in the prison system also. So it actually brings it kind of full circle, the inmates helping raise the dogs that could kind of come in and help kids try to stay out of the prison system. So it's really kind of neat in that sense.
Good.
Jeff?
So thank you for being here.
No, thanks for having me.
Several questions. How long do you think Bentley will be fulfilling this role?
So they want to see the service dog work for 10 years is their goal. That's what they're looking for, hopefully to get 10 years out of a dog.
Okay.
They're very, very strict with diet, weight. So when you get the dog for the first year, you have to go every month to your vet, get the dog weighed. There's a form you have to fill out and fax it back to them, because they have target weights that they want the dog at and stuff like that.
So Bentley is specifically trained not to intervene if there is a threat.
Correct. Yeah, he's a service dog. That's all he is. He's not any kind of they're actually taught not to bark. They don't, like when he's at my house and someone rings the doorbell, he doesn't get up and bark. They're taught not to do that.
So even if you wanted him to, he wouldn't?
Nope. I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
I mean, I've never, I don't know that it's ever been tested, but no, I don't think so. They're very, very docile dogs.
I'm used to being told by owners of service dogs, say a blind person, don't pet my dog. This is an entirely different situation, correct?
Yeah, well, so basically, and that's another good thing that we do, is we teach kids. Like when I go in and teach younger kids, I teach them about service dogs and what it means for when a dog has a vest on. So you can pet a service dog if the person lets you, but sometimes people don't want you to, and that's what we explain to kids. We say, listen, any dog that you see, we teach dog safety too. We're like, any dog you see, you shouldn't go running up to. You should always ask the owner if you can pet him. But especially if you see a dog with a vest on, it's a working dog. So ask the owner if you can pet them. And I say, sometimes the owner might say, no, please don't pet my dog. And I said, it's not because they don't want their dog to get attention or they don't like you, it's because the dog is working. And he's asleep right now, and this is also something they're taught to do. When we're in a meeting or anything like that, they're taught to go under the table, lay down, and go to sleep. So I go into meetings sometimes, and at the end of the meeting, I'll get up, and people who came in late didn't even know there was a dog in there. Now they know because he's been around for a while.
That would not be my dog.
Yeah, but we've taught kids that, so most of the kids will come up to me, and it's a good training from them. They'll say, can I pet Bentley? And I'll say, yes, thanks for asking. And, so for him, he's considered an assistance dog. He's trained as a service dog, but he's called an assistance dog because he doesn't serve a particular disability that I have. So and that's the other thing that's good about needs is it's not Carl's next on the list, Carl gets this dog. This is the next dog up, this Carl's next up, they get matched together. When a dog comes ready to be placed, they look at their list and they say, all right, who's waiting for a dog and what's this dog's strengths? And so they describe him, he's a very tactile dog. He likes to be touched, he likes to be around people. So that's why they thought he would be a good placement in a school system.
So we were sent a sample policy from another town.
From his town.
From your town, okay. And the only thing that jumped out at me was this phrase that said, any act of aggression or defensive behavior has to be reported. What does that mean? I get the aggression. We don't want Bentley to be aggressive.
Yeah.
But why are they concerned about defensive behavior?
I would see, to be honest, I know the policy, but I'm assuming in the way I read that it's defensive. Like he was defensive of me, he wouldn't let people get near me. Or, if you have a canine and you go up to the police car, the dog's going to start barking and be defensive of the car, be defensive of the officer they're with. So they don't want him to be like a possessive dog to be. And that's part of his training too. You have to get certified. And part of the certification process is that you go out to like a mall and there's a number of steps they walk you through. One of the steps is I would have to hand the leash to you and walk out of his view for about 30 seconds. Tell him to sit, hand you the leash and leave and see how he reacts. And the reason that they train them like that is because a lot of these dogs are service dogs and placed with people with physical disabilities. And there's an assumption that at some point that person might have to be taken out by EMTs. So they don't want the dog to be defensive. If you are a handicapped person and now people are coming in to help you and the dog's going at them trying to defend you, they don't want that. So the dog has to kind of be a neutral dog.
Understood. So last question, Carl, is there a funding issue involved?
Not anymore.
You mean, is it meaning thanks to Jeff?
Thanks to everybody, probably half the people in here too, yeah. No, so Need sets up a fundraising page for their clients.
Okay.
And they set it up last week, sometime, week before, and there was she sent me the link to my police department email. It blocked it, so I never got it. So I called her, and she says, Carl, you're all set. She says, you already have $5,000. I said, I need $8,000. How did I get $5,000? There was a woman that donates every year, and she usually donates $1,000 here, $1,000 there, but she read the story and she gave me $5,000, so I need to raise 3 more. But I'm at like $14,000 right now, which that money goes back to Needs to do the same thing to benefit them.
Needs estimates that by the time they place a dog, they've invested about $45,000 in the dog through training and food.
Sounds like
and
a not-for-profit.
It is. It's a nonprofit. And so what they do is when you get a place with a dog, they ask that you, over a period of 2 years, fundraise $8,000. And in that, even in that, if people aren't making it, they have ways of giving you money. But, I had the same thing. The town rallies around it, and you see what happens here. People just realize what a great opportunity is. And in a couple of weeks, they've blown up the page, and it's already funded, so.
Thank you again.
And I've talked to Upper Cape. Upper Cape has a veterinarian program, so they're gonna do all my veterinarian needs and grooming. So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's great, that's great. April, do you have any questions?
I'm just really jealous at the meeting. I'm not in person. There's a puppy I can't pet. But I think that the program sounds amazing. I have family member with elementary age kids in Mansfield schools, one who is in a like an ASD classroom, and I know that I've heard about Bentley and how excited the kids get when they come to the school. So and he's afraid of dogs but loves Bentley. So I think that it's going to be a great opportunity for the kids in Wareham and for Carl to be able to reach and help access kids who might be a little bit more timid of seeing a school resource officer. So I think it's a great sounding program, and I'm excited that we can bring it to Wareham.
Thank you, April.
The training? So as Ken said, it's a year and a half the dog's trained. I have to go up for a week and stay there. They have a house that you stay. Ken's done it, so maybe he can explain.
Yeah, it's 1 week of training, so you basically go up there for a week. You go up on Monday and Tuesday, and you can commute back if you want. And it's just classroom, partially classroom, and learning, about service dog fraud, and what not to do when you have these kind of dogs, and it's an assistance dog, veterinary type stuff. And then a lot of time is spent going up with the trainers, and they teach you the commands, and then they walk you through the dog, working with the dog. Then on Wednesday, you stay over there for 2 nights, Wednesday and Thursday, and the dog stays with you 24/7, and you do the same thing. It's training, classroom during the days, and then they do field trips too, like you go out to a Walmart, you go out to a supermarket and with the trainers, and they walk you through to see how you handle the dog. And then you go home for the weekend. On Monday, you come back, and then they take you out to a mall, and they do a certification process. And as long as you get certified, then you're good to go, and that's the complete training. So it's really the dogs are.
So do 50% of humans fail too?
No, because they're too smart. They get us through it.
And you have to certify every year, correct?
You certify after the first year, and then I think it's 3 years. So I've done 2 certifications, and now I think I have a couple years before I have to certify again.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a breed of dog already in the works, or do you not know what kind of dog you'll get, or are they all the same?
It's
breed?
all labs.
They're all yellow
labs, yeah. And,
okay.
And yeah, they always have dogs. They got set back a little with COVID too, because all the dogs had to come out of the prisons, and so and puppies, people breeding puppies slowed down. So I think everything for all service dogs across the country slowed down a little bit, but I think they're getting ramped back up again now, and getting dogs out. So
as they explained to me, if you go buy a pet, you get the cute one. The dog picks you, and you don't pick the dog. Basically, how NEAT operates. So I had like a 2.5-hour interview with them, and they went through everything. And then they brought another dog, Jonesy, and I had to, work with Jonesy and all that. And they evaluate me through that. So then you have to pass that process. So I passed that process, and this is where we're at.
So what is the next step for you?
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the toughest step. It's the waiting portion, just till they get a dog.
The chief and my direct supervisor, Lieutenant Smith, we would love to have it for the opening of the school committee, the new school, but it didn't happen, and we just have to wait. That's
something else to look forward to.
Unless Mr. Worrell can pull some strings.
I wish. I did also bring along 6 annual reports, just to kind of give anybody an overview of needs. And there are plenty of YouTube videos of other experiences of service dogs like Bentley in classrooms and in all types of environments. And I would encourage you to take a look at them if you have any.
There's 53 needs assistance dogs in Massachusetts right now. 53. I go to conferences, and the chief can at his training conference, the chiefs are talking about it now, how beneficial it is.
Yeah.
So I go to the conference. I went to a conference in Norwood, I don't know, back in, I don't even know what it was, November or whatever, and there was probably about 12 dogs there, and it's just, it's going to be the coming. What's good with the school resource officer having the dog, because a lot of schools have it. Middleborough, I believe their guidance counselor, someone has a needs assistance dog, but they have curriculums, they have schedules to go by. I float, I can go here, I can go there. I don't have any, I'm not tied to one place at one time, so.
But will the dog only be used in the schools, though?
No, we'll use it in the community.
Oh, you will?
Community
Okay.
events, and yeah, that's why I say, just like Ken takes it, 4th of July, whatever it is, they have, he even has like pancakes with Bentley or something.
We had a breakfast, during last year, because of COVID, so the kids were when we went to hybrid, and it was just such a downer year. So one of the lunch ladies actually came to me and asked if we could do a breakfast with Bentley. And we did like 4 sessions, so broke it up into 3 sessions with the kids in the morning. And it was like, you just went in and they had breakfast there, and you walked around, let the kids say hi to them. And then we did one for the kids that were completely remote, which was a great success. And now she's planning another one this year. It just seems to keep growing. Everyone comes up with an idea, and we just keep, adding on to things that we've done. It's just, like I said, it's just been a huge success. And even our superintendent, who wasn't a fan of dogs in the beginning, not that she didn't like dogs, but she had a little bit of a fear of dogs too. And now she loves him, and she always says how great it is also. And I would add, I'd open invitation to any of you that would like to come up, and if you have the time someday and you want to come up to Mansfield, I'd be happy to show you around and walk you around our schools with him and see the reception he gets and show you the different things we do there. We'd be happy. I mean, very passionate about the program, and invite anyone to come up and see it, because I think it is so beneficial.
All right,
Madam
well,
Chair,
thank
is the
you.
vote premature?
I thought you were going to ask him when you could come up to visit. Don't be surprised, because
trouble with my
he will.
dog.
So that is my question of the superintendent. So we do, I don't believe that we will vote tonight, because if we're going to vote to approve a policy, we have to introduce the policy at one meeting and then vote on it at the next meeting.
And Carl, you don't need our vote for this to keep moving, correct?
Well, if there's a no here, then we have to use the dog just in the community.
Well,
No, no,
we're
no.
There's not gonna
happy
be
to
no
have a
here.
vote.
You don't need our vote tonight.
Oh, no, not at all.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to,
I'd love to have the vote
Make a
tonight, so I
motion.
know where we're leading, we're going to, but, yeah.
if you want to make a motion that we vote in support of them, we can do that, and then we can vote at a subsequent
Policy at a
meeting
later
on
date.
actual policy.
So moved.
Yes.
I gave both Mansfields, I think I forwarded Andrea one long time ago, and the chief has Mansfield, so I think we're going to, if the chief can, we're going to adopt Mansfield's policy?
Yes.
Yes. So we're going to adopt Mansfield's policy, and also, so if the school departments, if you look at yours, and Jeff had one question on it, I think Ken answered that one, but.
Yeah. So we all have that policy, so we will vote on that at our next meeting. So if anyone has any changes or anything. But I'm sorry, so we have a motion to vote in support.
Correct.
Second it.
Okay. Any more discussion? Roll call vote, Kevin?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So 5-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Before you go, I just wanted to ask the chief if you're welcome to come in and add anything you'd like to add.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. When Kyle told me about the program, first of all,
Chief, could you get in front of a mic?
Yes, yeah.
He loves this. This is the best part of the job.
I can tell how much he loves it.
I'm trying to stay away. So thank you very much. When Kyle told me about the program, I know how passionate he is for the kids in this community. And initially my thought, sounds pretty good. But going to the chief's meetings and hearing some of the other departments talking about service dogs, and I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how prevalent the service animals in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on board with it. One of the things that I hope that people remember about my time as chief of the police in this department, in this town, is trying to reach out and help people, okay? That's important to me, especially when it comes to kids, just people in general. I just think it's all good, and it's positive, and I'm in full support.
Okay, great. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's great that, the police department and the schools already have a partnership, and this will just make it even stronger, so.
And
so
I
thank
know
you.
how he's handled the kids, and I'm sure he's going to knock this out of the park as well.
Yes, yes. All right, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you all being
Thank you.
here.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Ken,
Thank
very
you.
much for being here tonight. Such a good boy, huh? Sorry, April, we even got to pat the dog.
This visit is one of his 60 commands.
Yeah.
My dog is just as smart, he's just much more defiant.
Yeah, mine
This
is,
is my problem.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is the Green Life Project update. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Just want to introduce you to, I'm Scott Palladino, the principal of the high school, but Ms. Weintraub, you've probably heard of her many times. She is the fabulous teacher in charge of the Wareham Cooperative School that's inside Wareham High School, and she has two unbelievable students that are going to speak about the project, Aliana Black Holmes and Brett Glory, and I'm going to turn it over to them.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
So basically, it just kind of started out with like marketing class. We were trying to figure out what we should do for the course. We decided to like start like we already had like a little garden or whatever. So we decided to just like, start using those vegetables that we were growing. And it started out we were just selling individual vegetables at first. And then we came up with an idea to just start selling these little salads in jars and using the money to make more like room. We bought like a nice little like tent thing so we could keep growing even when it's snowing and all that. And then we're making all these flyers. Aliana draws all like the she draws them all out by hand.
And who are you marketing it to?
Just all the staff members in the school.
Mm-hmm. I love your presentation in the jars.
Yeah, and like our whole thing is like try to be like green and reusable. So we have like wooden forks and like wooden knives, and we use like the glass jars, and like we're trying to use like not use plastic and whatnot, or as little as we can. So that's like our whole shtick, kind of.
Yeah, I love it.
And then recently we've been kind of like mentoring little like younger kids who are in other behavioral programs at Wareham High. Then they come up like once a week sometimes if like they earn it, 'cause it's on like a rank base, like they have to earn, like it's a privilege for them to come up, and like we just garden with them, talk to them, just hang out for like period or something.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
That's really great. So what have you done to get the gardens ready for the cold weather? Do you have like a greenhouse out there?
Yeah, we have like a little tent thing, and then Aliana and Miss Weintraub went down there and we're like built like these little like, I don't know, like frost nets or something. Like, I don't know. They just like took like stakes, cold frames, and like staked it up and put them out there. Mm-hmm. And they haven't done too well. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean some things are doing better than others, and like obviously no one can't really see this, but
I was thinking maybe you'd read it.
Oh. With the generosity of Mr. Barrell, we were able to restore the warmer weather crops by transferring them into the greenhouse using the greenhouse. The greenhouse has helped our plants maintain steady warmth and sunlight they need to continue to grow. As you can see, we have arranged to label them into our own bins, making the process more manageable. And pictures are too small, obviously, but...
Well, maybe you can leave them for us when you go.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So have a nice little thing. But yeah, those ones. And I think we might have to, unfortunately, take a month off because of everything that we have. We just planted a bunch of stuff because our last crop kind of started dying off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to plant a bunch of new stuff. But the new stuff that's growing inside in the greenhouse is looking to be good. So hopefully, hoping to get back to making the salads if this crop does well.
That's awesome. Awesome.
And I wanted to, Aliana's been, this started, part of it started, well, it started when we came back to in-person learning. Aliana made this wonderful PowerPoint that I'm not going to do justice to, but they started with building the infrastructure, and we were doing the actual growing of the plants in science class. And when we returned in the fall, it was actually their marketing class to take the product and market the product. And one of the biggest successes I saw was Aliana's ads and her press releases have been pretty amazing. So they're better in full color, but
Well, that's how I found out about the project. That's why I asked for you to be here from, I think it was a Facebook post with some
And
pictures.
I'll
Yeah.
definitely bring these over to you.
And where's the garden actually located on campus? Is it by the library courtyard or?
It's on the side of the school.
Oh, everything's inside? It's on the side of the school?
And then our greenhouse is inside.
Okay.
So it's kind of, if you were in the cafeteria, it's on, behind the other side of the building, opposite the cafeteria. And the greenhouse is located, they mentioned Mr. Barriall, it's actually right behind his room on the second floor.
Okay.
Thank you. You drew all of these?
Yeah.
Wow. So is it something you get to work on every day?
Yeah, we go up and check on them and make sure they're watered and everything. And it's good to like, it's therapeutic in a sense too. You know, you just go there, water them, check up on them, watching them grow, you know, all that.
Good, that's great. And I love that you're teaching the younger students about it too.
You know,
Did you know anything about gardening before you started this project?
very little. I knew they needed sunlight and water. But that's about it.
Well, I know that too, but I still can't make anything grow, so. Anyone else? Jeff?
So I think, Aliana, your name has been mentioned more than anybody's. And so, Aliana, your name has been mentioned more than anybody's. So tell us what this project means to you.
I don't know.
Are you facing any obstacles to keeping it going?
No.
All good.
Been going smoothly, so no.
Well, we thank you for doing it, and we very much thank you for being here for the presentation.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I just want to say, I'm so proud of both these young folks that just how far they've come. If you guys think about like day one, if I was to tell you your senior year you were going to be presenting at school committee, I think they would have told me I was crazy. I'm just really proud to see the growth that they've exhibited over the last few years and to see them like almost through the finish line to graduation. It's been an amazing journey for them, and the sky's the limit. They have so much talent, and I think they're starting to see that, and through the guidance of Ms. Weintraub, it's been a great journey for them, and I look forward to seeing what they do in the future. They'll obviously both be graduating. I know that, and I know they have plans post-graduation, so very excited to see what they do. Very talented young folks and great role models. They mentioned working with our younger students.
Yeah.
They're working with our therapeutic learning community, 8th grade class. When they have met the criteria, they get to work with these two fine young folks that are just great role models for them to see.
That's great. I really thank you, everybody, and good luck with the growing season this year, especially tomorrow. Good luck.
Mary, did you want to?
At least it's warmer.
Yeah, right.
Guys, hold on. There's just a couple more of us that want to.
So, Mr. Palladino said you do have plans for future after high school. What are your plans? Just curious.
I'm planning on going to EMT school,
Awesome.
and then I was going to go to either paramedic or firefighter from there if I do get my EMT license.
That's great.
And I'm planning on working and making money, and
That's a good job, idea.
And
possible-
what field?
oh well, just right now, just stacking money, but a possible barber license as well.
She's very talented as well.
Awesome.
Good for you. April?
Hi, I just wanted to thank the kids for coming. Unfortunately, I couldn't obviously see what was handed around or hear everyone as clearly, but I think it's great that you guys are taking this initiative and really running with it.
Thanks, April. All right, thank you all for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming to share. It's really nice to have. Thank you. It's nice to have students back at the meetings.
Yes.
It's been a long time, so I look forward to having more of that. All right, so we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the naming of the Wareham High School softball field.
I'd like to bring up Ms. Kashner, one of our teachers and coaches, and Wareham High School graduate, and Andre Silva, who is a senior and they're going to do the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Just introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, I'm Andre Sylvia.
Hi, Andre.
I'm Megan Kashner.
Thanks for being here tonight. So we have the letter that you both wrote regarding the naming of the field. So if you just want to take a few minutes to let us know why you think that we should name the field after Lance Howlett.
Okay. If you grew up in Wareham, like I did, you knew Lance by his first name, much like Prince or Madonna. Lance was just Lance. I knew him I met him when I was 9 years old on the softball field, and he coached me until I was a senior in high school in softball. I think I was the only person he couldn't teach to pitch, so I was a catcher. So that's not his fault, it's my fault. But he recently passed away after a long battle with cancer, and when that happened, it hit anybody that knew Lance really hard. Why am I doing? So Andre's mom, Sheila, was my pitcher in high school, and I was her catcher. So that's our relation. The Clemenses were very close with Lance Howlett, and Andre was actually one of the first people I thought of when I heard that Lance had passed. So I found him the next day, and he came to me with this idea, which was instantly, of course, like, absolutely, we should name the softball field after Lance Howlett, because it's synonymous with softball in Wareham from the late 80s to 2000, the early 2000s. That was his field. He was always there. So yeah, I was on board. Mr. Palladino was on board right away. Mm-hmm. Just the idea of it just makes complete sense. So, and it was Andre's idea, 100%. So we just kind of helped him through it.
Mm-hmm. So. Thanks for taking the time to write the letter and bring it to us. We appreciate that.
And when Andre presented it to me, it just seemed like it made so much sense. It was the only field that really didn't have a name in the area on the complex. And, Lance was like a grandfather to Andre. Lance would, up until his death, call me every couple of weeks to check on Andre. And, it's been, I think, a great relationship. Andre kind of lives right across the street from where Mr. Howlett lived. His family lives there, and it's been a great relationship for many years. So I was excited when they presented this to me and sent it to school committee as soon as I received it.
And, like I started in the late 80s, but if Lance brought softball to Wareham in the way that he did, where the Wareham Youth Softball Program, he was just, that's who was the face of, girls softball in Wareham. And Andre has, an important fact about Lance and what he brought. So.
Lance, he brought the fast pitch in softball to Wareham, and everybody would come to him from around the state to learn his methods and the way he taught softball. Pitching.
The windmill style,
yeah.
Like the full rotation that I never could get. So.
So my own daughter started playing softball after Lance had retired, but he was still always at the field. He still knew her name, and everyone else that she played with, he was still there for many years after that. Yeah.
And I coached with Lance. We were on the same basketball coaching staff together, and actually, I remember at times arguing in a friendly way about what are these girls doing here this morning before basketball practice starts in the gym, because he would have them pitching and had it going, and he was really dedicated to the craft. And I would support this enthusiastically, just to make sure we've gone through. The school council has voted on this already?
School council voted on Tuesday, ironically.
Great.
8-0 on the vote.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, Kevin asked the one question I had.
Okay. April, did you want to add anything?
I just want to thank Andre and tell him I'm proud of him for bringing this forward. I know that the Howlett family will be honored by, how closely he is remembered and regarded by so many, community members and former students and former athletes, and just hearing the emotion and Miss Kashner's voice as she spoke of him. It just goes to show the type of character that he clearly possessed. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet him, but I had heard of him. And I think that this is a very admirable request. And I thank you both for being here.
Okay, thanks, April. Okay, unless there are any other questions, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, Kevin?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So 5-0-0. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
I know, isn't it great? Yeah, I love it. All right. Next on the agenda is a fall sports update.
I've got Ed Rodricks will be coming up. I know you all have his highlights and the spreadsheet based on the cost analysis of the fall sports. And I'm going to turn it over to Ed. And just before I turn it over to Ed, I want to thank him for his dedication and his work this fall. As you can understand, running an athletic program during a pandemic has its constraints, and he has done a phenomenal job of keeping everything afloat, making sure our students have access to all of the athletic programs we had pre-COVID, and I know he gets a tremendous amount of help from his secretary, Ms. Sandy Barboza, so I just want to thank them both publicly for, once again, a great fall, and we're already into a great winter season, and I'm sure we'll be back to report on that in another month or so. So Ed, I would like to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. It was a little bit harder than usual because of all the pandemic stuff, but I thought our coaches, trainers, the workers I had all did a great job of making sure everything went well, and which wasn't easy. It was a lot of time and effort by a lot of people, much more than normal. And I appreciate everything that everybody's done and the support from Mr. Palladino on down, and it went fairly well. I'm really happy with what happened. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
About fall sports in general? No.
Yes, just fall sports in general.
Okay.
No?
That was easy.
Now comes the hard part, I guess, huh?
Well, so all I would say is that usually I would go back and look at last year's, but there's no
No, you
comparing.
can't.
There's no comparisons.
It's
Apples and oranges.
So
And-
right, so I didn't. I didn't go. I didn't do
Let me
it.
throw one question out. The absence of user fees.
That was going to be my next question.
I love that we didn't have them. Is that still unusual, or is
No.
it
I say
fairly?
our conference is half and half.
It's half and half.
Yeah,
That was
don't
my
quote me
question.
100%, but I just in talking to them, some do, some don't. A lot of them, I know 2 or 3 off the top of my head, and I know 2 or 3 for sure, and I'm not sure on a couple of others, but if we could never go back to the user fee, that would be great. If we have to, we have to, but I mean,
But it is half and half.
yeah, it's not, some schools are, and some are very expensive, and I don't know how the heck they do it, but it is. And then others aren't so expensive, you know, but then, I'd love to see this community for sure to not have them. I mean, if we have to, again.
And the
I guess
follow-up to that is, do you think it had any impact on participation?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think because what happens is, if you're a really outstanding player, I don't think it makes it much of a difference. But if you're, all right, you know, in the middle of the road type person, you know yourself for the most part, you might not come out. You know, I'm like, I'm going to spend that money on this when I can probably be working or something like that. So now there's no cost to the play. I mean, and as a matter of fact, the calls that I got from parents when they were like, they went through the roof, so to speak, like, yes, this is great, you know, so, because it's a tough time for some people, you know, even though we do have waivers, it's still hard for other people. It's not, to pay, so.
I'm sure you
I'd
love to get those waiver requests too. That was just so much
it's-
fun.
No, I know it is, but I mean, I feel for them, and I try to help out as many as we can to get that waiver, you know.
I think there's still a percentage of the student body through their families that are apprehensive to be in school any longer than they have to. I'm really interested if we could keep this going without user fees kind of post-pandemic I think that's when we'll really see the growth. You know, right now it's marginal, but I think once the fear of contracting COVID is maybe not as strong as it is now, I think that's when we'll really see the increased participation, the need for added teams. I think that's going to really take place in the next year or two.
I've been pleased with the participation. It might be above normal in the winter, to be honest with you.
Oh.
And,
Yeah, the numbers are definitely
numbers
stronger
definitely up,
than ever
considering
before.
It's a pandemic.
I quick question, when you have a total number of kids and then you have the 8th graders next to it?
No, that's to combine.
Excuse me?
It's not separate. I just put it as a little clarification.
That was my question. So the total is the total? Okay, got it.
I only put that as so you'll know.
No,
you know.
I couldn't figure out which one,
Ah.
so you've answered the question.
So I'm sure I asked this question when we were talking about the budget, but when the budget was formulated for next year for athletics, did we include user fees or no? We didn't, so they would be over and above. Okay.
And to that I remember, and this is old information, we used to spend about $250,000 on athletics in the district. Is that approximately what we'd have to add if we put user fees back? Excuse me, is that we'd have to find $250,000?
We never got $250,000 in user fees.
No.
No, sorry, that's the wrong way of expressing it. We used to spend $250,000 when we had, the cost to the district
Yes.
was $250 when we had user fees.
To subsidize.
Right, exactly. So do you have any idea what the cost to the district is now without the user fees? No, but I can figure it out. Maybe the next time Kevin and I gather with you, because I hear you loud and clear and I'd love to keep
It's
it
going
going.
to start with a 3.
Well, is the number for the fall season right here?
It is, but the spring season's a lot cheaper, so you can't
Right,
just
so that's why I
amortize
said
it by
that's
3
just the fall
seasons.
season.
Multiply by
No,
3.
but it's going to
No.
be in the $300,000 range.
Yeah, I know. Okay, thank you. I agree with you.
April, do you have anything for Ed?
I don't have any questions necessarily, but I am, as a parent of a fall sport athlete, I was definitely, it felt much more. I know last year was really hard for not only the families, but the students. And this year, even with, some of the protocols and some things needing to be masked if they were indoor sport or different things like that, I know that the kids, I think, felt really relieved, and it was great to see how many of the students were supporting each other with the fall sports, attending volleyball games and football games and things. So I was really, really happy across the board to see so many students supporting each other this fall.
Yeah, that was definitely up. I saw a much more positive culture as far as kids supporting each other at the school than in the past, definitely.
Yeah, you had some great gates this
Yeah,
year for the home
football,
games.
we had-
It was really nice to see.
All right, well, thank you.
Well, are we done yet?
Oh, sorry, with fall sports.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is,
I did want to just thank Ed, though, but
No,
the
go ahead.
creative scheduling that he was able to do for some of these sports, that was thinking outside the box a little bit, whether it's kind of going to like an independent type schedule in a way, creating the relationship with the rest of the ADs in the league that would allow them to do that, at least for this past year. It was good for the kids, so thank you.
I do want to comment on that. The ADs, that we really work together for the most part. And obviously, we want to beat each other, but they've been very, very supportive. And when I was at New Bedford High, we only had 4 games, so I had to find 16 non-league games every year. So it's not a big issue for me.
all right, well, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the athletics conference discussion. So, this is something that we've talked about before. And I know that, thank you for providing the information. Did this information come from you, Ed?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for providing that to us. Since the last time we talked about it, the school committee did receive a letter that was signed by several coaches from the high school, and that's why some of them are here tonight. So I guess tonight, at Kevin's request, we're just going to continue the discussion and, see if anything has developed since then. So I'll turn it over to you, Kevin.
Right, so when we last met in the fall, you had indicated that there'd be some discussions at the league level and asked us to kind of have faith and wait and see what went on with that. But before we get to that, and I don't know how much you can talk about what happened or didn't happen, but you guys kind of made I think, an argument for what we're looking for, which was increased positivity with the kids, camaraderie, people showing up to games, and that was because it was competitive. Right. And like the stats you gave us, and I thank you for those stats, from just even the gold division, it was, the record was 81 and 200 in the last 3 years. And that's just in the small school division. Might want to have Bentley here when we give it that information. It won't seem as negative. It is what it is, and we all realize that. We're not trying to, I don't think, hide it. It's what it is. But can we do something to, like you've tried to do in this past season, going forward, so that our athletes have a fighting chance, so our coaches who are working really hard can see the fruits of that hard work, and so we can create that positive social, emotional benefit for the kids. That's the question I just have.
And like we said in the fall, it's a work in progress. Unfortunately, we can't really say too much because the confidentiality that's involved in these meetings, but I will tell you that I was extremely happy with some of the news that came out of the meeting today. It was, I would say, I think it's going to benefit our school probably twice as much as I anticipated it would, based on the initial conversations. It does take, as we discussed in the fall, time to get this movement, because most schools have to give at least a year's notice to their conference if they anticipate transitioning into a conference. But I was really happy walking out today, Ed, and I know you were as well, based on the initial conversations, because I think if what we believe is going to happen happens, it's going to be a tremendous benefit for our student athletes, and we will be able to really compete at a whole different level, because we'll be competing with like schools in regards to enrollment. And I think it's going to be really good for the conference as well, not just looking at it from the blue or the gold division. I think it's going to really benefit all. And I anticipate this spring for this to be shored up, and us to be able to, at least before graduation, be able to give you more information that I think will be encouraging for all, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, this wouldn't be for next year. It takes the whole of the year after. We would be shooting for the following fall.
Would the league allow you to be creative like you were this year still?
He's got a two-year, you got a two-year.
Yeah, I got a two-year deal with two sports, or three sports. And, my goal would be in the future that we could play combination of what we're doing here. And I can't say too much more than that. And then this would benefit. Our goal would be to get better in certain sports all across the board. I mean, we're not as good, and I think part of it has been because we've gotten our butt kicked for so many years in that sport. It's hard to get people that really want to be committed to it. So we're hoping that with this new thing, like, for example, boys soccer, if we could play some type of combination like they're doing, and we could do that in most of our sports, I think we'd be okay, and we could still have our cake and eat it too. We'd still be part of the South Coast Conference. We're hoping that this comes to fact. We don't have the final thing yet. Like Mr. Palladino said, today was the best meeting we've had. We had an athletics director meeting at 9:30. We had a principal's athletic director's meeting at 11:30. And I left the place, and so did Mr. Palladino, in a good place. And I'm hoping that, in another month or so, we should know more, and in 2 months from now, we should be in a good situation. And if we're not by the end of the school year, then we'll go from there, and we'll have to do.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. If, say, in May or whatever.
Yes.
We hear that, we couldn't get as many small schools coming in as we hoped, or we weren't able to move some of the bigger small schools up a notch to the higher division as we hoped. Would we consider at that point, potentially, if it didn't come to the way you wanted it to,
right, then we'd have
at that point, would we possibly consider going to a different league?
I think we'd have to take a look at all options at that point, but I don't anticipate that happening. I think this is not just an issue for Wareham High School.
No.
If you take a look at the conference, I'm sure you can figure out the other schools it's an issue with. So they're going to fix this because it's what's good for the conference. They're not doing this just for Wareham High School.
Well, I get that, but I've also heard like, well, you should co-op with those two schools, and I would not want to see that happen.
No, that hasn't been,
There's a third and a fourth school that are very close in enrollment. So it's not just, a neighboring town and us. There are other smaller schools that are dealing with the same thing, and all the schools in the conference, with the exception of one, are having a declining enrollment. But, I just want to touch upon the other thing is that, Ed has done a great job of hiring excellent coaches. And these coaches understand to build a program, it's not show up on the first day of the season and turn in your keys and your whistle on the last day of the season. To build a program, these coaches that are having success are working all year round. And that's the majority of our coaches, working all year round to make sure the kids are getting into programs. Now, there's rules as far as what they can do, what they can't do. But these coaches are really doing a nice job of trying to build the programs. And our more successful coaches have been doing this for a while. A lot of our other coaches are just getting started on this. Some are brand new hires. And I'm really excited to see what they do in the next few years, because the majority of them are getting into the elementary schools, and that's where it starts. And then you build the program. You know the kids that are coming up. By the time they're in high school, it's not like who's coming out for my 8th grade team. It's like I know these 12 kids are in 8th grade, and they're going to be coming out for my sport. So it's exciting to see the coaches that are really owning that and taking advantage of the opportunities. And Dr. Shaverhood has been phenomenal at allowing them to tap into the elementary schools, whether it be with flyers, emails, virtual meetings, whatever it is. And I think it's going to pay off.
Yeah, it's just at some point, I want to say this in the right way, that we're going to have to make some kind of move that's the best move for the kids. And we can talk about the league doing this, and there's been a lot of talk for a lot of years. Right. I'm not blaming us necessarily, but leagues move very slowly.
Yes, they do.
I understand. That's why I said give us...
But it's not good for the kids we have now. That's all I'm saying.
But it also isn't going to be immediate. I mean, the decision is going to be made, and the transition is going to happen in, I hope, a year and a half, but it could be longer. It could be 2.5 years. I mean, it's going to take time. It's not like you flip a switch and you're in people are in a new conference.
But before the end of the school year, if we're not headed in that direction, I understand what you're saying. But I think we will be headed in that direction.
I hope so. There's also appeals that you can do to the MIA, too.
I hope so, too, because,
it's a great conference. I mean, there's so much support. I talked to you about so many things that go on beyond athletics. It's really a great conference that supports all the student athletes. And but obviously, at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for our students. And if that means looking at other options, we'll do that. But we've been working on this for almost 2 years, and I know it's not immediate, but this is unfortunately the way it has to progress.
Mm-hmm. It seemed like it got everybody's attention today. It was the best I've seen, let's put it that way, with the principals and us. So I'm hoping now, before the school year is out, we know which direction.
Well, we will know before the school year is out.
You know what I mean? Right.
We just hope it's the direction that we walked out of the meeting thinking it was going to go.
Right.
Jeff?
I'm a little confused about the confidentiality, meaning if we just wanted to have an idea conceptually about what it looked like without any names, any towns, any schools involved in what you told us, why would that breach confidentiality?
There was, I think there was an issue a few years back when Martha's Vineyard had a 2-year trial in our conference, and it seemed like a certain newspaper knew everything that happened in the meeting. So they have constantly told us that what happens in the meeting needs to stay in the meeting until we're ready to do a press release. So I think there's just some bad feelings from things that happened in the past. So, and I'd rather not say too much because I don't want to screw anything up either.
I respect what you're saying. It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate because I'd love to be able to tell you everything because I was so happy walking out of that meeting today. I just felt like I said, I felt like it was, I went in thinking, okay, this was going to happen. And when I walked out, it was like twice as positive as what I thought was going to happen. So I'm really and I think it's going to happen. So I'm very happy because in the end, it's going to be really good for our student athletes.
I will tell you, as you know, I've had a relationship with some of the finest student athletes for the last decade.
Yes, you have.
97.1.
I think Mr. Gardner got a.
No, that was the all-time high. Was it 97?
No, but I think Mr. Gardner got him last season.
No, I'm not talking about that.
All right.
I'm talking about the student athlete scholars.
Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay? And they are some of the finest kids that ever went through our schools.
Correct.
And I polled them. And I couldn't find one that wanted to stay simply in a South Coast Conference the way it is now.
Sure.
No, I get it.
Okay?
We understand that.
So I completely support the direction that you're going. I look
Thank you.
forward to more details.
Can't wait.
And I think the students will be equally happy.
They will be.
Okay.
It's going to be really awesome.
Dr. Shaverhood, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just think that when you look at the win-loss record and you look at the progress of our athletes, it doesn't start in high school. So if we really are serious about building a program that's competitive, I think we need to look at expanding it into the middle school and the elementary with various programs. I know that there are schools that have competitive middle schools that we could schedule games with. And I just think that that's the way to build a program. And until we're ready to do that, to focus it on the high school, that's pretty tough.
Yeah, you're right. It's almost too late by then, to be honest with you.
And I know someone who used to run an athletic
Yeah.
program at the middle school level in a small city.
But what I started with the elementary. I really believe, and here there's only going to be one elementary, am I correct, next year?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I was in a city that had like 13 or 14, so we tried to band them together, and the whole idea for them was to become a whaler in New Bedford High School.
Yeah.
And it really made kids think about coming to New Bedford High School. But it's got to start at the elementary school, and I think we need people, coaches actually, to go in there and if we could do some stuff as far as, I don't know, some type of, even if it's an intramural program with a beautiful school like that, you want the facility, I haven't seen them, but the facilities must be off the charts.
Nice.
So I'm saying that we could probably do some things, and they want to become a Viking, you know what I mean? And you can have, there's a lot of things we could do with that. And I know with the brand-new school, I'm sure there are things we can definitely do there. And then goes from there to the middle school. But I really think you got to do it with the elementary school.
No, I mean, I think that's a great idea, but when Wareham's athletics were in its heyday, there wasn't necessarily a feeder program at the middle school then either. So
Right.
I'm just saying, it's a great idea, we should do it, but it's not why the problem is what it is today.
Well, yeah, well, there's a difference in the demographics of the schools and everything and all that stuff. That is part of it, as far as what we're facing. But you're right, but if we start something with the elementary school.
Well, I think we should.
And,
I'm agreeing with you.
The middle school, I don't even know if we can have a middle school schedule because we don't have eighth graders in the middle school. And most middle schools right now, when they have their leagues, it's in 8th and 7th grade teams. We don't have that. Obviously, the eighth graders are at the high school. But I'd like to see with that brand-new school, with the facilities they have, I'm sure we could do several things with the elementary school as far as, we could even, and not during the pandemic here so much, but next year possibly, come to games, things of that nature. Have a night for the kids and stuff like that, all that stuff. But that has to be done, and I think if we can do that, it will help. It's not the end of the world as far as, but it'll get them in a direction that, I want to go to Wareham High School, not some other high school.
So at the beginning, I mentioned that we had received a letter signed by several coaches at the high school, and really this just demonstrates what we already know, that there are many, many hardworking coaches at the high school. And what I really noticed about it too is that probably half of them are also Wareham High School graduates, athletes. So we're really very lucky to have that group there. So I have been in touch with them, and I did let them know that they could speak tonight if they wanted to. So at this point, I will just ask them. I know there are a few coaches here. If any of them would like to speak, you're welcome to come up. Sure.
Good evening.
Hello.
Marissa Smith, high school.
Evan Wilga, high school, soccer and tennis.
Yes. I coach field hockey and now unified basketball. Helped out with track as well. So thank you for having us. Thank you for having this discussion. Frankly, the conversation about us being in the SEC is a decade in the making. It is a concern that we have brought forth year after year after year after we have poured time, effort, love, sweat into programs only to have them consistently fail in the sense of wins, losses. It is only this year, once a couple of sports have really had a chance to have a fair opportunity to play teams, that we have seen some serious success. Of course, there are some outlier programs. Boys basketball and football have had some good seasons in the past decade, but the remaining programs have suffered so much that we no longer have sub-varsity teams for many of these programs. Girls soccer, boys soccer, field hockey, football no longer have sub-varsity teams. The culture in our school has failed. Our enrollment continues to decline. It is a big, big problem, and I understand that there are some things in the work. In my opinion, they are too little too late, okay? These are small little fixes that don't bring us to still being in a competitive fair. We're not asking to stack our schedule by any means. We're asking to be competitive and to be fair with what we put our student athletes in as far as, an athletic schedule. Additionally, we have lost coaches over the past 3-4 years, 4 head coaches in the last 3 years, who many would articulate it is due to those circumstances alone, that we are dealing with declining enrollment in our programs, we are dealing with not being competitive, stepping out to a field or a court or a rink, knowing exactly what the outcome of that is going to be, no matter what we have poured into our programs. Some of these programs have done the route of trying to recruit at the elementary level. In my program in field hockey, we ran a Saturday clinic to try to get elementary school students engaged and involved and to learn about the program. I did everything imaginably possible to make my program be successful, and it wasn't. It continues, unfortunately, not to be, and it made me have to give up probably something that I'm more passionate about than most things in my life, and that's it was a very, very difficult decision this year not to continue to do that, but it's debilitating not only for your coaches, but for the families, for our athletes. Kids don't want to be involved in programs when they are continuing to get their butts whipped, in all due respect. We need a change. It's not a change that should be something 2 years down the line. The student athletes that we have in our building deserve to be able to play a fair schedule. And obviously you can tell it's something I'm worked up and passionate about. It's something that we have been asking for many years. And we understand through different channels, a lot of these coaches have ears in other buildings, and we understand some of the scenarios that may be playing out. And I appreciate that, that there's, let's see what happens in April, but those scenarios still do not put banners on a wall for, a conference. We would still be in a conference by name only. We would not be competing against teams in our league, and in that point, it's what are you doing in a league if you're not then still competing against those teams? And bring in one more small school doesn't matter. We're still the smallest of the small schools by several students and still not competitive. So I would urge that Wareham has waited long enough to be competitive and to be fair, and the students, our community, parents, coaches deserve a fair chance to play in what is probably one of the most rewarding experiences that a student athlete could have.
Yeah, I'll just, this year for boys soccer, I'm sure you guys saw, because we had a great season, and, it was attributed, Ed did a great job. He helped us get that, that 2-year grant to get us an independent schedule, and you can see, what it did for, Cash and I, and just soccer alone. I mean, field hockey didn't have the same opportunity, and you could see how they suffered, and we stepped up to the plate and had great seasons, but we played competition that was equal to us, if not lower than us. Probably next season, I won't be picking some of the teams we played against, but it's good to know that it's not necessarily the coaching or the players, it's just who we're playing. It was refreshing. It was great to see. I mean, like Ed said, at the games, you have my soccer kids going to support the football team, Cash's girls going to the volley. Like, it was insane to see, how excited kids were because we were winning. And, even 5 years ago, I've only been in the school district for 8 years. 8 years ago, when the football team was winning all these games, it was electric inside the school. And I'm sure, long when Cash was in school here and, other people, and it was probably the same way. Sports, sorry, Cash. Sports, in a way, I mean, I obviously am a coach, so I'm kind of biased, but it's the heartbeat of the entire school in my eyes. I mean, if you have successful sports programs, you have kids that want to be part of them, kids that want to go to the games to watch them. You have those kids interacting with each other, and it all just, it stacks from there. So it was refreshing to see this fall season, us having some success and these athletes getting recognized. I mean, the Standard Times, I think we've got one player in there since I've been here in 6 years. We just got 2 in the super team for the first time. We had a bunch of all-stars. It's not because we haven't had the kids that are good enough to be in there, but it's hard for me to say, this kid deserves to be in there when our record was 1 in 16. It's kind of hard for them to take that, but yeah, we have great athletes here. They're great. They're fantastic athletes, or even better students, but they need to be recognized by, accolades on and off the court, and the court and field is where, I'd like to see us get a little bit more, play around the area in the newspaper, have these kids, be proud of something. So I'm a big supporter of, playing a schedule that's equal to what we should be playing, and whether that's either way or getting out of the conference, that's all I want for the kids.
All right. Well, thank you very much, both of you, for coming to share your thoughts. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
And we will continue this conversation. Thank you. Ed, thank you. Thank you very much
Thanks.
for everything.
Thank you.
Attaboy, Ed.
All right, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the high school program of studies.
Busy man tonight, Mr. Palladino.
Hey, maybe that means I won't be at the next meeting.
Yes.
Look over to your left.
Jamie's taking care of it.
Okay, go ahead.
On the subject that we just left, I realize this is a loaded question, and I don't have a predetermined answer. Whose decision do you think it is?
The decision to stay is the high school principals and the superintendent, and I will support the decision that Mr. Palladino makes.
Is that, I hear you, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but is that based on past precedent? Is that based on Massachusetts state law? What is it based on?
The principal runs the building. It would be under state law.
Excuse me?
Site-based management is
Yeah.
the law.
Okay,
It works.
thank you.
Okay, moving on.
All right, moving on.
Okay, so we're here for the 2022-2023 course of studies, and I'd just like to introduce some of my department heads that are here that are involved in the course of studies. Kim Kavicki is the assistant principal in charge of curriculum and instruction. Michelle Amo is math, foreign language, phys ed, and health department head. Amy Dion is fine arts, applied arts, business, and science department head. And Mike Murray is the humanities and JROTC department head. So thank you all for being here. And they all are going to be part of this presentation. So I know what you all like is when we just kind of go over the changes. So beyond the date change, we were able to add in the district vision of the graduate change on page 4. And then moving on, Michelle will talk about the world language changes in a second here that are listed under foreign language. And we also have really cleaned up the electives by department grid, just so you can see all the electives. I do want to talk about, these are all courses that we can run. These are not necessarily every course we will run. What we're saying by presenting this to you here today is that if there is enough student interest, we could run these courses. Inevitably, not every course will be able to run. We also had a great opportunity to survey our students. You're going to hear about that in a little bit. There are 3 courses that are 100% student-driven, requested through surveys for this course of studies. And we also have gone through our school council to review this and get this approved. So we're kind of at that last step where we hope to receive approval today. So I'm going to turn it over to Amy Dion, who's going to talk about the business, leadership, technology, and wellness changes that start at the bottom of page 2 of our sheet that we gave you in regards to the changes. So we'll turn it over to Amy.
All right, so we do have a new chart for the fine arts program that just sort of lays out the sequence of the classes that students can take in fine arts classes, starting with grade 8 into grade 9 and going through grade 12. To the fine arts program, based on student vote, student voice, was the idea for the introduction to broadcasting and the digital photography class. Do you want to segue into the world language?
Sure, yeah, Michelle's going to talk to you. I mentioned earlier about the changes in the world language, not only the world language, which I'm having a tough time as the son of a foreign language teacher, I'm still trying to figure this out, but also in regards to some of the changing in the course description because of midterm. So we'll turn it over to Michelle Medina.
So at this point, the state has moved foreign language to world language, so that has been updated throughout course of studies. Anywhere where it said foreign language, it now says world language. And then in all of the foreign language course descriptions, the last sentence stated that there was a midterm, all students were expected to take a midterm and a final worth 20% of the grade. And we got rid of midterms last year. And then every course, students have to take finals in. So we just removed that sentence because it doesn't need to be within a course description, just to be consistent.
Okay, and then on page 8, Amy Dion's going to talk to you about the science, technology, and engineering core courses and electives that are updated on her grid.
All right, so physics is just on the books again. Some changes made to some computer science classes in terms of prerequisites, so having successful completion of a course that should be taken prior to that so that they can build on those skills and be ready to move forward in the next level of that content area at a equitable level, so everyone in the class can move forward at the same rate. Marine biology was the 3rd class that was student voice, so that has been added. And then introduction to botany is actually teacher initiated. It's a topic that one of our teachers is really impassioned about teaching, hopefully, if there are enough students to take it. And then there's do you want to take that one?
I'll take it if you want.
Well,
I'm excited about it, but
all right, so
it's in your department,
all
though.
right, so under applied arts would be the introduction to plumbing and the introduction to boat building, which is actually, the boat building is Dave Arnold's, hopes to continue to teach. He actually had a connection with Buzzards Bay Coalition this year through the SAIL program, and they actually built 2 seaworthy boats, and the kids really loved it, and he hopes to continue with it.
And there was a great article in the Wareham Week about that if you haven't seen it. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Murray. He has only one change that he's going to talk about, but he's really hoping you might have some questions at the end for him.
Sure. This is a course that a very multi-talented teacher at the high school named William Hunter is developing and proposed. And it's interesting because it speaks to a recent state law that was passed in early December that required schools to demonstrate, document where they are teaching about genocide and the Holocaust throughout the history curriculum, which we are in our regular main courses. But this would be sort of a great supplement to that. A seminar piece called Examining Racism and Genocide in History, which they would have a broad overview of the concept and the theme, and then drill down into 3 specific situations: Jim Crow, Wounded Knee, and Rwanda.
Thanks, Mike. And Kim Kavicki also handles our instruction, online instruction. As you've heard us talk about, we have 2 venues for online instruction: Edgenuity and Virtual High School. Edgenuity is the more popular version. Virtual High School would be for some more of the advanced courses. And we have some changes that I'm just going to have her review that are going to be in the course of study and going to be options for next year for our students.
So we have quite a few updates to the online learning options that students will have. These were also based on the student feedback through that survey that Mr. Palladino discussed. And you'll see that they have a very career-minded, career exploration theme to help students kind of explore different pathways that they may be interested in pursuing. And then Ms. Linehan is our library media specialist who kind of handles the overseeing of these as well. So the new additions, we have a new course called Banking Services Careers. Talks about how the banking system works, the Federal Reserve, and just different skills related to careers in that industry. Introduction to Law, Public Safety, Corrections, and Security. So all of those different topics stated in the title, and then a history of how those fields had developed. Another course is Power, Structural, and Technical Systems. So this course would focus on the field of agriculture in this form of like machinery, structure, biotech, and other sort of professional standards. We have security and protective services, just focuses on different security services. Small business entrepreneurship, that is all about strategies to manage your own small business. And then we also have sustainable service management for hospitality and tourism. So trying to provide students with an understanding of socially, environmentally, and financially sustainable hospitality management. Then there are two new options in the health field to sort of add to the repertoire that we already have. The first is therapeutics, the art of restoring and maintaining wellness. So that's all about restoring and maintaining mobility and physical and mental health. And then the last edition is called Nursing Unlimited Possibilities. So that gives students an opportunity to look at the different clinical pathways and what it would take to get into an entry-level position in nursing. So all of those are online courses that are semester electives, 2.5 credits for the students. And then we had two courses that are being removed from the online program of studies. Those two courses, the first one's psychology, and the second one is strategies for academic success. So both of those are actually courses that are integrated now within our mainstream traditional courses taught with a teacher, not through an online platform. We have the psychology college prep elective, and now we also have AP psychology, which was added in last year's program of studies. And then we also have a course called directed support. And that sort of, that very much aligns with the strategies for academic success. So it's not really needed as much in the online venue.
And those are our changes that we're proposing for next year. We'll certainly answer any questions you may have.
You had mentioned these courses would run if there was enough interest. Is there, what constitutes enough interest?
I really like to have double digits at the very minimum. Obviously, we'd like it to start with a 2 if we can, but in the end, with some of the advanced courses, it's tough to get in the 20 range. We really like to be in double digits for the advanced courses. As far as the college prep courses, we like to be in the 20s to really substantiate running those. But it's really, sometimes it gets tricky with the higher end courses.
And who's teaching the plumbing course?
I'm sorry, which course?
The plumbing course, introduction to plumbing?
Well, we're
Do you have a
working on
plumber
that.
on staff?
We're working on that. We've got a
Okay.
few people in-house that are very talented and some that have licenses. I'm still working on that, but I'm meeting with someone shortly, so I'll be able to disclose that hopefully in another week or two.
And I want to just congratulate Mr. Murray on that course about racism and genocide. I think it's very important, and especially today's world. And I was just reading a survey, a report the other day that a great number of students no longer even know about the Holocaust. The percentage has gone down dramatically in like the last 20 years. So to make that aware is just very important. Thank you.
Jeff, Mary?
Oh, yeah.
Jeff.
Thank you all for being here and giving up your evening. It's a pleasure to have you here. First, Mr. Murray, I applaud, as my colleague said, that you're doing this course. over the last couple of years, I think you won't be surprised by this because we've communicated a little bit. I think I've heard every viewpoint on things like critical race theory and how we're teaching things and what we're teaching, et cetera. And I guess my question is, do you feel any constraints at all about teaching history that actually happened?
It's funny you mentioned that because that was a focus on NPR today because of the date, and they had many features relative to January 6th insurrection, and one of them was how do teachers handle this, because it can be sort of a hot button environment, I guess, sometimes charged environment, depending, right, on who you're talking to. And so I think that honestly what actually happens, and I experienced this personally in I teach Mr. Lazarus's old law class, actually. I got to inherit that one, and it's awesome.
He would be happy to hear it's still going.
Very cool, yep. And so in that, it's very easy to talk about real world things because that's what we talk about in high school. And what we try to do is investigate real world things and get students to weigh in on them, analyze them, and bring their own perspective to them. So certainly they live in the real world, we talk about it. Honestly, I find it to be easy. And I think everybody does.
So your answer to my question is there are no constraints. If it happened, or if it's happening, you feel comfortable teaching it and not thinking that you're going to get in trouble just because it's a subject for the day.
The operative word is teaching, so it's what we do when we're trained to do it effectively, right? So it's not like we're not preachers and we're not politicians. We're teachers. We create lesson plans in order to help bring students to help them acquire information, just like our mission statement states. Acquire it and communicate it.
Jeff, I think we call those teachable moments, and we jump on those all the time because, it gives the kids that opportunity to understand the real world implication and how it could pertain to them. So I think the teachers embrace that, not just in Mike's department, but in all departments.
And have you gotten any feedback from parents with respect to how certain subjects have been taught?
Not really. No, that really, what you're seeing nationally, I guess is what you're referring to, really hasn't been an issue locally.
Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting NYU professor who says it's hogwash to say that critical race theory is a, law school course, and it isn't being taught in high school. I even was accosted by someone recently, I think that's the right word for it actually, who claimed it was being taught in elementary school in some places. Specifically the issue of guilt for the past, et cetera. Don't need to go into all that. But the bottom line is, I can see how if someone didn't understand what teaching was and instead felt they had the right to proselytize their own position on it, it could get, but you feel comfortable that is not happening in Wareham.
I would dare anyone to stand in front of a room full of high school students with the intent of proselytizing to them. Good luck to you.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Even the subset that I deal with wouldn't let me do it either. Okay, so you're saying all the things that, and I'm sure you're being honest too, which is what I appreciate, that I wanted to hear. So thank you very much. So back when I went to high school in the 1800s, this course of study, this syllabus didn't exist. It's like we're on a different planet.
Right.
There's a part of me that loves it, and there's a part of me that says we can't afford it. So Unfortunately, my colleague Kevin and I are on this nasty thing called the Superintendent's Budget Advisory Committee. And we're confronted with the fact that over the next 2 years, I'm going to pick a number, about 30 positions are going to have to disappear from Wareham Public Schools when the funding from the federal government disappears. Can we afford this course of studies?
I think we have to afford it. I mean, we're competing with other towns, we're competing with school choice, and we're trying to keep our kids here and offer them the best program that we can. I think we have to make business decisions, like Mr. Bajoli just mentioned, what's the cutoff, what do you look at? I think we have to make good business decisions. The tough part and the most frustrating part, frankly, is what it looks like in July and what it actually ends up rolling out in September. Number-wise, is two different things. We have a huge transient population of students that we schedule in the spring. And then throughout the summer, or many times the first couple of weeks of school, they're not in town anymore. So now all of a sudden that class that you had 20 in, that you were like, all right, great, I've got 20 in here. Now it's down to 8. And you're going, okay, these 8 kids need this class to graduate. And now I know I'm going to get my hand slapped at the school committee in October when I come and show you my numbers. It's very frustrating. It's a very frustrating process. And, I think we have an obligation, and I have an obligation to the principal, to fight for the best programs that I can offer my students, because we base, all of us, and teachers as well, every decision we make based on what's best for students. And we believe this course of studies is what's best for students, but we understand we have an obligation to not only the school committee, but to the taxpayers, to try and be as efficient as we can in rolling out our course of studies, in rolling out our schedule. We get it, and we try to do a good job of that, but it's frustrating when it's such a moving target. I take pictures because certain teachers will say, why do I have 22 kids in my 9th grade English class this period and, only 14 this period? And it's like, when we started, you had 24 across the board in all classes. But through attrition and again, students transferring, this is what you now have. You have an unbalanced schedule, unfortunately. But we try and do what's best for the students. And I think we offer, for a school our size, and I think we offer a lot of options for our students at every level, and a lot of support as well for our student body. So I think...
Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you don't offer that.
Sure.
I'm questioning whether we can afford it.
Well, I'm hoping there's additional funding sources and you don't have to cut 30 staff members throughout the whole district.
I wish I could believe...
I said I'm hoping.
Yes. I wish I could believe that hope was a plan. But it looks really...
I understand. I've seen it. Last year was the first year I haven't had to cut a staff member from my school. I get it. I mean, there'll be difficult decisions that have to be made at all levels, not just the high school.
And so the question I'm asking is this if this is the first year of 2 years where over $2 million within the district is being funded with temporary money, is this the right course of studies? Should we begin to wean ourselves off of that before years are up?
We have an obligation to meet the Mass Core requirements so our students can graduate with a high school diploma. There's not a lot of things you can go in here and get rid of and say, you know what, we're going to cut these 6 classes and save X number of teachers. I mean, in the end, you're going to tell us the number of teachers that we can have, the superintendent's going to tell us the number of teachers that we're going to have in a year or 2, and then we're going to have to make it work. And we always do. We're very creative. Are we going to be excited to have to cut, some of the advanced classes? No. Frankly, we're not. Because some of those kids are then going to say, well, if I can't be in this program, do I want to be in this school? And those are the kids we want to keep. So I understand. It's a balancing act. Trust me, I get it. We've done it for years, and we'll be as efficient as we can, and we'll run as many courses as we can, and we'll see what happens.
I can guarantee you, Kevin and I don't consider it exciting to be doing what we're doing.
No, but we appreciate it. Someone has to do it. We appreciate it.
So, do you have, I know it's impossible to predict on a micro level, but on a macro level, is it predictable the amount of attrition that you have across the board? In other words, do you consistently find yourself losing 5%, 10% from what you planned to have? On a macro, not an individual.
Yeah, it's hard to estimate. I mean, I heard today that our enrollment's gone down every year. Our enrollment's been about 425 for the last 4 years. So it's been pretty static in that front. It hasn't decreased, hasn't increased, but we anticipate it's going to be increasing based on the class sizes below us. But in regards to attrition, it's tough. It's usually, 50 to 60 kids that were here that aren't here. And, but it's tough to say, like, this is one thing that we did this year. We said, well, let's try and hold off a little bit later, because we kind of had the COVID thing going, and the kids, it took a lot longer to schedule when kids are only in front of you 2 days a week for a period of time, and you've got 20-some-odd% online. So the scheduling process was a little bit more of a nightmare this past year to get ready for this year than it has ever been. And we actually held off until really, I think it was like mid-July, to finally say, okay, here's the schedule. And you guys were all involved all summer long with all the changes. And it was still, it was a lower percentage that we didn't have that disparity this year because we held off until that point. But it was also difficult because you have summer work expectations, and you need the kids to know what classes they're taking. You need to give them enough time to complete the summer work. But long-winded answer is approximately 60 students.
Don't get me wrong, I could sit where you are and argue with me on this issue, because I love what you're doing because it differentiates us. The more we do, the more we provide, the more we can make the case for the fact that Wareham High School is the place to be. And I get that, 100% I get that. And I applaud your efforts to make it so. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
April, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but thank you for putting this together and really highlighting the changes. It made it really easy to see. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of questions. So you've added, obviously, classes in the boat building class. I saw the article. I think it's great that it's going to be a part of the curriculum.
It could be a part. It could be a part.
Okay. But you also, have you deleted classes also?
So there are classes that
Or that you won't necessarily run.
Yeah,
right.
they won't run. We try not to delete unless it's like an obsolete course. There have been years where we've deleted X number of courses. I mean, you saw on the online courses, we've got some that we deleted. But we, unless it's obsolete or we don't have a certified or qualified staff member to teach it, then we would delete that.
Okay.
So nothing really has been deleted at this point, but that is not to say next year there would, there may be next year. There was last year. There could be next year.
Okay, so just because a class isn't highlighted here, so it might not be running this year.
The highlighted, yeah, there could be ones that aren't going to run.
Okay, all right,
I have one more quick question when you're finished.
okay. I'm curious, the school to career, how has that been affected by COVID?
Well, Amy's in charge of it, so she's your go-to person on this one.
A couple of things. The new schedule change at the high school has made it a little bit tricky because it has changed where the distance to which the bus can drive. So we've been creative with which students can drive themselves. That determines, they can drive a little bit further, they can do that. And then, of course, a lot of the students are at Wareham Middle School. Some of them are at Deacon's, or now Wareham Elementary. Wareham Elementary, and then on Main Street, so different businesses on Main Street. So it really was creatively done where we utilized the buses, the students that could drive, and then we've even gotten students that have reached out because they want to stay longer at the elementary because of, and not have to go on, they actually drive, and they actually stay until 2:10 or till the elementary gets out because they want to stay later. Other issues we've had with COVID have, come from the businesses themselves. Maybe they don't want additional people in their business, so they're no longer an option. But for the most part, it's been pretty good.
Okay, well, that's good
in
to
that
hear.
way.
They've really done a nice job of thinking outside the box and really reaching out to some new businesses that we traditionally haven't used because some businesses were like, we just can't have anyone else in the building. So there's been a few options that we've had for years that we haven't been able to utilize, But in the end, all the students are placed, and they all seem pretty happy. And I had a chance to actually go out and check on them a few times.
I'm sure they love that.
They were surprised. 'Cause I told them I would, and they just thought I was blowing smoke. And then when I was there, they're like, "You're really here?" So it was fun, though. It was a good opportunity to see them outside of school.
And the newly created committee, the Career Vocational Committee, did that have any input into any of these changes, or is that too new?
It's preliminary, but it was funny. We had a meeting today, and we were just talking about this. Dr. Schwam, we had a district administrative meeting, and she was saying the committee's going to be ready for the next course of studies next year. And I said it's going to be perfect alignment. So I think you'll see some additional. I know Amy created some pathways for her department. I think you'll see some additional pathways coming through that committee. So we're pretty excited to see what they have in mind and what we'll be able to present a year from now.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're looking for a vote. Go ahead, Jeff, sorry.
Quick question for Mrs. Kavicki and Mrs. Medina. The state of California has proposed, but has not decided, that they will stop teaching calculus.
Don't even get me started. I was going to say, you can have Adrienne talk about it. She's in calculus.
And the reason is because of the disparate results that they're achieving depending on the group that is being tested. Do you have an opinion about the instruction, our ability to teach calculus to anybody?
Whether or not we have the ability to teach calculus?
Are we, if you analyzed our data, is there any pattern about who's successful learning calculus and who is not?
Our students who are participating in sort of the accelerated tracks that are able to take, our 8th grade dual enrollment students that are able to take Algebra 1 in 8th grade, or even the ones that maybe aren't ready for 8th grade dual enrollment but are able to double up in math, maybe their sophomore or junior years. Those students tend to be the ones that can be very successful. Calculus sounds very intimidating, and it's honestly, it's very much just about the effort that the student's willing to put in and, their level of investment. It's really not out of reach, it's within reach for all students, I believe, if they, are willing to put in the work to get there, so.
And with IB, like I teach IB, and there's calculus within both IB math courses. So even though the kids aren't taking a full year of calculus, we do have a calculus topic that we cover in both IB math courses. So I'm like, oh, we're doing the calculus unit, and then they get scared, and then we do it, and they're like, oh, that wasn't that bad, that's calculus? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, we can do this. So.
Adrienne, do you have any thoughts about calculus?
I feel like they said, calculus might seem intimidating. I also might not be the best person to ask for this because math is kind of a little easy for me. But I feel I haven't heard that calculus has been a super difficult course. I know the people who've taken it in the past, the AP test scores have been pretty good. They've been 3s and 4s across the board. I also feel it's probably maybe one of the, if not the most challenging math class at the high school, which I feel is good to have just for the students who take the accelerated programs. They have another option to challenge themselves if they want to.
So we're not considering eliminating calculus?
No, absolutely not. No way.
I'd have a fight on my hands.
No, absolutely not.
Glad to hear it. Thank you.
All right, if there aren't any more questions, I'll accept a motion.
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So 500.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
It's so fun, yeah. Right, next on the agenda is the school calendar for the next year.
Yes. So we have provided this to administrators, to the union, and this is the calendar that has come back as approval of all. This would start school for the first day for grades 1 through 12 on August 29th. In staff service would start on August 24th and 25th. The 180th day of school would be June 15th, and with the 5 extra days that we need to add, it would be June 23rd. So I would ask the school committee to please approve the 2022-2023 school calendar.
Is this timing similar to what it's been, so before Labor Day and school
Yes.
starts, like in the few days before Labor Day?
Yes. We pretty much mirrored this year's calendars.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any questions? Jeff?
So I have the color-coded one with the individual month zone, and I really appreciated the legend until I couldn't find one of the colors on the legend. So these 4 dates, June 16, 20, 21, and 22, I have a feeling they have something to do with snow days. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But I thought I'd find a 5th day because it's the 185 versus 180. Is there a 5th day that I'm missing, or is it merged with another date?
It's in purple. It's the 23rd.
So the 23rd is the 5th day.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All set, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? April, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Okay, then I'll accept a motion.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So 500.
Thank you.
Next on to the report of the superintendent.
Yes. Approval of gifts. We have 2 gifts. Donation from Kelly Powers of raffle prizes for the Thanksgiving Day football game to benefit the class of 2022, and a donation from Dr. Shaver Hood in the amount of $62.50 to the Transportation Department. I would ask you to please approve both gifts.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, Kevin?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So 500 with thanks.
Thank you, Kelly Powers.
Thank you. Next, I would ask for approval of bills and payroll warrants as listed on the newsletter.
Any questions? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved?
Second.
Kevin?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
And myself, yes. 500.
Thank you. Next, as you know, we opened the Wareham Elementary. We were supposed to open on Monday. We opened on Tuesday. And just from the very beginning, it was so successful. The kids walked in. You thought there was utter chaos. And by 9 o'clock, when you walked down the halls, people were in their classrooms. Learning was going on. It was like they did not miss a beat. The next day, the arrival was even smoother. Yeah, it was smoother, and just the hard work of the faculty, the custodians, the administration. I mean, it was just heartwarming. And now you walk through and you would think they'd been there all year. There are still a few projects that we will be finishing up during the remainder of the school year. The mural as you enter will be placed on the wall during February break. We are still anticipating some furniture coming in. The cafeteria furniture will be delivered sometime in March, we hope. And there's some chairs and some other things that will be coming in as they arrive. But overall, it was just simply amazing.
Jeff?
Just to add, although the school building committee had its, we believe, our last meeting, the weekly Monday morning progress meetings and the following meeting, although it may be merged with the weekly progress, called the Technical Review Committee, which approves change orders, will still be meeting. So if anybody has any information that Kim and I and Dave Menard, who are the 3 people representing the school district. If anybody wants to know anything or let us know about something that they want us to bring up, don't hesitate.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I guess that would be particularly true of Bethany and her team. If she's got any problems, well, she can tell you, and then
Yeah.
you can bring it to our attention.
Yeah.
Well, it was a little bittersweet to have the last building committee meeting after all those years. Yeah, so, thank you for making the building available for the school committee that night. And I just look forward to being able to visit now with students in the building,
Okay.
at some point.
All right, moving on. We need a vote for a signature for the Massachusetts Building Authority for the for the middle school roof and the high school boilers. We handed the information out to you several meetings ago, and all I need is for you to vote approval. The school district will be funding the feasibility study for both projects. Once that's completed, then it will be going to MSBA to be voted to move forward, and then the town will need to vote. So at this point, you would be voting on moving this forward to a feasibility study.
And you said we're funding the feasibility study.
We will be.
And where's the money coming from for that?
Probably school choice, or there's some money left in a town article that we could use.
Okay. How much is it?
We don't know what the exact cost, but we anticipate it will not be any more than $75,000.
And remind me how that works. Does that become reimbursable or no? That
No.
is an expense to the district?
We will not get the money back.
Okay. And do we know what the reimbursement percentage is?
We do not. It's not been set yet.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, Kevin?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
And myself, yes. 500.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is report of the school committee. And under that is the superintendent's search committee. So, well, before we talk about the superintendent's search committee, I did forward a couple of quotes, one from Mask and one from the New England School Development Council about a superintendent search. Did everyone, I know I only sent them a few days ago. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Does anyone have any questions or any points that they want to make about those?
Only that I've heard
We
good
have a
things.
significant cost difference between the two organizations for their services. Seeing that the non-MASC was significantly higher in their quote.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Jeff, what were you going to say?
I agree with April. On the other hand, I've heard good reports about the professionalism of the NASDAQ organization with respect to searches. So it's just a question of whether you think we'd end up getting a better result as a result of going with a somewhat more professional organization.
Mm-hmm. Are we prepared to take a vote tonight to choose one of them? Is everyone?
I believe so.
Okay. I agree with both. Jeff, I've looked into some of the searches that this NASDAQ has done, and you're right, they do. They're very professional in their approach. But there are lots of things about Mask that I really like too. So not just the price, but
No,
yeah.
I get it.
So would someone like to make a motion on that? And I have confirmed that we are able to, with Dr. Shaverhood through the town, I have confirmed that we are able to take this vote. We don't have to get 3 proposals based on the dollar amount.
I make a motion to accept the MASC proposal.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second it.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call. Kevin?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
Mary?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So 4-1-0. So we will connect with Mask on that effort. The other subject is the search committee. The first step in that, I think we've talked about this before, the first step in that is, I think, appointing the 2 school committee members who will serve on that committee. I think that Glenn Kuchar did a good job of answering our questions about that in our meeting that we had last week, the week before. So tonight, I would just like to say that the 2 school committee members who will serve on the committee are Jeff Sweat and Kevin Brajali, and Kevin will be the chair of that committee. As far as the makeup of the rest of the committee, I believe that's something that's up to the whole school committee. And so at our next meeting, we can have that discussion, and I will forward you a proposed list of people, not individuals, but the makeup of the committee. And then we as a school committee can decide on that. Is that, yes, Mary?
So maybe I missed it in his presentation, but I think he said that we had to look at what our policy was on it, or I mean, because it depended upon different districts, that some actually would vote on who the 2 people would be. Do we have any written?
Oh, as far as the school committee?
For who would be on the search, yeah.
The school committee members?
Yeah.
We don't have a written policy. We, our school committee, when we reorganize, the chair appoints all of the committees. I did confirm this with Greg, with our council before.
All right.
And so because the chair appoints subcommittee assignments, this is considered a subcommittee assignment, and that's how.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there that I mean, Jeff has already sat on a committee, right, for that? I mean, it would be nice to allow a new member to sit on it.
Mm-hmm. I just felt with the background that these 2 have, that they would, we would all like to be on it. I wish that we could all be on this search committee. But I just felt like the 2 of them would serve well on that committee. Not that anyone else would not serve well, but those were the 2, and short of being able for all of us to serve on that committee. Jeff?
Do you have a number in mind for the total number on the search committee?
Glenn suggested 9.
Okay.
That number seems like it might be small, but that's a discussion we can all have.
And do you want, between now and the next meeting, do you want members of the school committee to recommend positions or people?
Not individuals. I think that we need to.
You just want positions?
I think that we need to come up with the makeup of the committee first. In other words, how many, is there going to be a principal on the committee? Is there going to be an administrator?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many
So you're
teachers?
looking for
Community
approximately,
members?
you're looking for approximately 7 positions. And that position could be, for example, a community member.
Yes. Oh, definitely would be a community member. Yes. So I've looked into, how, what the makeup of committees have been in the past in Wareham. And, Jamie helped me find some of that old paperwork. And so I can show you that. I can show you what Wareham's done in the past. I could show you what other school committees have done recently, and then we can decide as a committee at our next meeting what the makeup of that committee will be.
Okay.
All right. I think that's the next step. What else would you like to see on the agenda for next time under this heading? I believe that the job description is another thing that will be voted on by the whole school committee.
But we can ask Mask to try to come up with one, right? And then we can offer our input.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we have a job description, we have makeup of the committee. Do we want to talk about general timeframe, or will Mask determine that as well?
Yeah, timeline.
Yeah, I think that
We could still have one.
that's something that they will assist with, yes.
Just to be clear, when we voted for MASK, we voted for the full search services.
Yes,
Correct?
yes. Not just the services that they provide
for
at
free.
no additional cost.
Right, okay.
Right. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. Okay, so I'll share that information that I have so that we can discuss it next time. Are there any questions? April?
No.
Okay. All right. Then, is there any other business anyone has before we, Jeff?
I think it's remarkable that we didn't, and there's a part of me that loves the fact that we didn't, but that we didn't talk about COVID, and I would wonder if Dr. Schwam.
Well, now we did.
What?
I have enough of COVID, thank you.
Yeah, so have I, but I still would like to hear from Dr. Schwam how test and stay and that sort of thing is going.
We haven't been in school quite long enough to have student-to-student contact, and that's when we do test and stay. So we haven't been back, and anyone who's tested positive isn't in school at the moment. But we were able to pick up the Department of Education's lovely gift of tests that we gave out on Saturday and again on Monday to all faculty and staff members. And we've additionally sent over other kits so that they can have them. We have our latest updated test and stay kits because the ones were becoming expired. So we put those aside and have already, we were aware of that about a month ago. So we began the process of ordering through CIC, the updated tests, so we're in good shape there at the moment. Yeah, I think.
Can I assume that part of the reason that we didn't have school on Monday was because some number of those tests came back positive?
Some of those did, but other tests that were also done individually also were positive. And you know, we hit a tipping point. I think everybody is suffering in the state with having enough staff overall due to the illness and other factors contributing to that illness. We're having a tough time day to day, never mind when the surges come. And we were willing I was excited actually about teaching and heading on in and would have been thrilled to do so as Dr. Shaverhood was. We were just going to barrel on in, but we hit a tipping point. And there was a point where that wasn't going to fix the problem or make a difference. And of course, student safety is first and foremost. You cannot put all the kids in one spot and think you have to still keep them separated. We have to keep them safe. So
I suppose in retrospect, tomorrow's snow day is almost a good thing because we've got the 5 days of quarantine, right? So anybody who tested, positive on Monday or Saturday, well, certainly Monday, they couldn't have been here yesterday or tomorrow anyway, right?
Right, but it's also really important to understand that it's 5 days, but you also have to be aware of the symptoms depending upon the type of COVID that you have. So if you're still symptomatic after 5 days,
it's a minimum.
It's a minimum.
Right.
And, there are some people that have no ill effect and they lose their taste of smell and nothing else. There are other people who have 103 fevers for 4 days straight and, they're going to need more time. So I think it's just, we just need to keep that in mind, I think, when we make decisions based on individuals.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Well, if no one has anything else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Oh, Kevin? Jeff? Yes. Mary?
Yes.
Myself, yes. April?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I did look at it.